Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening. Wherever you are in this fine world. Hello. How are you? Oh, it's been a little while. How you guys doing? What's up? What's new? Everybody hanging in there? Doing the lovelies? What's up, Amaral? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Shall we get this party rolling? I think we shall. All right. Let me just unblock the screen here. Coco, what's up? How are you guys? Richard, how are you? Thank you very much. If you're talking about me. So here's this is the current project we're working on. This is I haven't decided her name yet, but it's a little bit more Queen of the Damned, Mistress of the Damned, some kind of evil-esque string puller, I guess you could say. um, Pretty much most of this work has been done on this stream, so if you're interested in going back and seeing some of this previous work, you're welcome to. Most of it is actually, you know what, my camera is off. Why is my camera off? That whole time. You guys didn't even tell me. Hold on a second. Do, 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 do. Should be on. It's not on. Maybe you guys are going to have to watch it without me. Oh, just kidding. There I am. You get me. Anywho, so yeah, any of the previous streams are on ZBrushLive.com. And there's a bunch of other great streamers there if you want to go back and watch some of that. I believe that it just had a revamp to the website too. So go check that out. It's some fantastic stuff. Or you can um, pick up ZBrush or Pixologic's YouTube channel. They also have all the past stuff plus other stuff, and you know they got the stuffs. We have the stuffs. But yeah, this is where we left off last time. I think last time we were futzing around with the armor pads here. I think we're going to continue doing that and maybe do some straps. Maybe we'll do some straps and then some more chain stuff. Oh yeah, and then we kind of fussed around with some of this stuff from Marvelous Designer, kind of set dressing. Yeah, the beginning stuff is on the Pixologic YouTube page, or you can go back to the ZBrushLive.com and find my artist page. You can find it there, Chatuka. Tuck. Tuck. I'm so bad with names, so I may just shorten your name to the first syllables. Yeah, yeah, no problem. Um, all right, so let's jump in. So I think this this was the last piece that we worked on, and then we took one of these guys and then just put it down there. So I think maybe we'll work on some straps and see how this is going to get kind of plastered to her arm. Thanks, Carno. Yeah, nobody says it right. Yeah, I get used to that. So we'll kind of plan around how that may strap to her arm, and then we'll do some stuff here. So in particular, we'll be thinking about how the game mesh will be. There we go. I just moved. Isn't that cool? Um, so I'm always thinking about, what my base mesh is going to be, or the actual game mesh. So in this particular one, I could just use, if I look at brushes, this right here, I use this a lot, the curve strap snap. Is it that one? I use it every time. Wait, this is it? Is this it? Let's see. And then maybe I'll just grab this guy and then we'll test it like this. Yeah, that's the one. So this brush comes with ZBrush and it's great for doing straps around something, right? So whatever that may be, great for it. So what I typically do is I'll just select a size that works first. Like, that, I don't want these to be crazy skinny, but I also don't want them to be too thick. So actually that feels like a decent size. So then I'll just test. That's not gonna work. I think something has changed. Let's see. It used to be that if you held shift, that you could make it circle around a particular piece, which is not really doing anymore. Must have changed that. There we go. So if you hold down shift, it will try to. The mesh has layers. Of course, the mesh has layers. And we'll get a crash. First crash of the day? No. No. Let's see. Aha. Okay. So here's the issue. And this is a great reason why I do live stuff. Is because you run into issues all the time and you don't know what the issue is and how to solve it. So the great thing about live work is that you see these problems in real time and then you're like, "Oh, how do you solve this? I have no idea." This is where live stuff is much, well, I wouldn't say much better. It's longer, that's for sure. But here's the issue: if I am on this particular subtool, I have that guy selected, um, and I'm trying to draw on this, which I can draw on this. Um, the problem with the insert brushes is that if the mesh that you're on has layers, um, in the layer tab, layers, it is an ogre, it has layers. Right, this guy doesn't have layers. But if I'm not drawing on this thing, it looks like I'm not able to do the circular function, because it's. But if I switch to this, which does have layers, you see, then I'm able to. It'll pick this thing up and do the full circle, but it won't actually do it because it has layers. Right? So I don't want to freeze my layers. So what's a good way around this is to just, why don't we just dupe this, we duplicate the body, we delete the layers and so go all the way up, we'll just delete all the layers, it's crunching, we'll just do bake all, wait, what is that? Partially hidden, oh yeah, that's right, okay. So you just kind of have to breadcrumb it and say, okay, we unhide everything. Okay, we bake all. We'll send that back down to say 3. Delete lower, delete higher. Okay, and now this is a temp mesh. Right, so now it no longer has layers on it. So now what I can do is I should be able to draw on this guy and do the circular function. Okay. There we go. So, do I want to do it underneath this? Probably not. Let's do it out here, and then we can just move the subtool. So, we're holding down Shift, and we draw all the way to the outside of the subtool, and it will try to circle all the way around whatever the subtool is. That actually looks pretty good. Now what we can do is let's just Alt-click off of it to finish the curve, and then we do, let's inverse just to make sure. Okay, cool. We can split unmask points. Right, now we have this guy as a subtool. Here we go. Boom. Pretty cool, right? And then we can just say, well, you know what? Maybe we want this dude up here. And then we can just do a little futz into it. Alright, just grab the move tool. Cool. Whoa, buddy. Whoa. So that's how we get around something like that in real time, right? And we just kind of massage that around into place. And then maybe we have a similar one here. Take a drink here. So once you have your system down for how you lay out the straps, then the rest is just work, you know. Why is it brown? Why is it brown? Fill object. Let's do mRGB, and we're going to put it on the basic material at white. Why are you brown? That's weird. Let's try a different color. You are not changing at all. Oh, because it's, nope. Why are you brown? Oh, okay, no layers. Polypaint is off. Interesting. Okay, mRGB is on, and we are at 100% for RGB. Maybe let's try, okay. So the material is changing, which is alright. The color is not. Why? I have no idea why. That's a damn good question. Paint from texture, no. Oh, you know what? It does. I bet you it has a texture on. There it is. Haha. We'll just say texture off. Cool. See? See? It's little nuggets like that. What's up, Yaz? From France. How are you, sir? Sir, I'm not sure if you're sir or not a sir. But oh Jesus. There we go. But yeah, that's how that's how we figure stuff out, man. Okay, let's take mRGB off. Okay. So let's do a couple straps up here. And again, I know that I'm working on this version of the skin is actually, oops, has no layers on it. That's the flat one that we got. Alright, so let's go down to brush. Let's go back to my curve brush. And then let's just do that. And what it's doing is because it's picking up the texture map that is already on the subtool that I'm drawing on. That's why it's inheriting that texture. So whatever, that'll work. So maybe we'll just do some movie magic and have a couple that just. And the reason that I'm using this ghosting is that if I try to do this without the ghosting on, it's going to try to snap to anything that's visible. What ghosting does is it tells ZBrush not to draw or not to pick up on any of the shapes that are ghosted, but you can still see them. So it's very, very useful in that regard. Ghosting is under Transform, Transparency, Ghost. So if you turn Ghost off, I mean you can do it either way, but I use, and then I map that actually to so V for solo, and then Shift V for ghosting. Really helpful. Anyway, so now I can just really quickly, oops, okay, maybe we just have those disappear under there. Yeah, that's cool. Cool, man. Just do texture off. Okay. Actually, before I do that one, what I do is I want to split unmasked points because this one's already masked. And then what I can do is just do another one like this. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then we'll do a quick split unmasked points on that. Cool. And then I have my two straps here, one there, and then let's go grab texture map. I'll just turn this to texture off, grab this one, texture off. And then probably what I can do is just delete some of this stuff. I don't need it to go all the way here, so let's just turn on polyframe. Let's grab our select lasso, and then let's say maybe to there. I don't think I need anything further than that. That's fine. So then we'll do delete hidden. Grab this bloke over here, and we'll do maybe to there. Delete hidden. Cool. Now I think this arm is a little bit different shape than this one, so I'm just going to redraw them on this side real quick. Before I do that though, let's see, because if we can work in symmetry, awesome. I think these are symmetrical too, and these are. So let's try it first. So grab this dude, we're going to merge down. That's fine. We got that one, and then this one. Okay, we got all three of those. Cool. We can merge those down. Let's turn off colorize. There we go. Alright, now we can mirror and weld. Yeah, it's pretty close. Pretty close. And then let's just keep that on the same material. Go to MRGB, fill object. Want to fill object. I want to make sure that my RGB intensity is all the way up to 100 because it will fill at this RGB intensity for color. Cool. And then let's go back to basic. There we go. Whoa. Easy, buddy. Easy. I'm making you guys sick yet? Yeah, okay. I think that could work. Then let's go in and sculpt some details on these guys. Alright. Yeah, we'll just leave that one on for now. So, what I do like to do before I start moving away from their base block out, and like just duplicating, sending it down to the bottom of the stack, and then just working on this copy. So what can I do here? We could probably do is get rid of these guys. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just sculpt on the actual geo that I would use in game. The goal is to get the base geo down to game res and then subdivide it up. We'll see. I try not to back myself into these corners too soon, because once you do, you know, you need to still kind of establish your UVs and all of that for baking. I'm not really ready to do that yet, so let's just try it. Show you. Let you show you. Let you show you. So I don't need these guys here. So what I can do is let's just hide those guys. Hide those guys. Flip the mask. Hide those guys and those guys. So I just got this. Revert or invert, sorry. Then we'll do delete hidden. Okay, cool. You know what we could do is just run a quick UV on it. So let's do that. So I got my ZBrush plugins. That's these guys here. And then we'll just do UV master, and then we'll just do unwrap. See what that does. It's mirror and weld. And then we'll use morph UV. This one is actually, so there's two different ways you can flatten your UVs. In UV master it has flatten here, but also in the UV tool UV map, UV morph. So you can come down here to UV map and do morph UV. So it kind of gives you ooh, this is new. Has this bump feature, that's, I think it's new to 2020. So let's turn that down to 0 and then do morph, and then it'll flatten everything out. So it gives you pretty good UVs. Pretty good. Not bad. Not bad. It's able to work with. And then you can still move these around to wherever you want them in your UV layout, and it'll still keep those UVs, which is good. So I try to excuse me. I try to work that way once I have the base geo down, because probably what I'm going to do with these guys is let's divide once without the smooth, and then divide with the smooth. And you'll see what that is doing. So what it does is it doesn't give me as kind of as crazy of a. Here's the difference. Right, so if I have smooth on from the very beginning, right, it does this, right, because it's adding edge loops and smoothing as you go. But if I take off smooth for the first divide, then turn it back on, it will maintain some of those ridges a little bit more. Or what you can do is we can just go in with our autosave, coffee drink. Autosave. How you guys doing? Hey, how you doing? This is a autosave dance. Okay, moment's over. Alright, we can just go in with insert edge loop. And then maybe we'll just throw in a couple edge loops here. And then you can actually see what it's doing to the UV. Well, you can't on this one because it's... Let's just do this first, and then mirror and weld. The problem with doing this is that now when you subdivide, you're going to have much more detail here than in here. Uh, uh. So you have to kind of be aware of what your subdivisions are going to do. So now if we subdivide, it still holds those edges a little bit better. So maybe we'll take off smooth for the first one, turn it back on, smooth a couple times. That actually feels pretty good. Feels doable, but you see that we didn't get, forgot to do it on the bottom here. So I don't know. Usually what I would do is there's a couple of different ways to do it. Let's just go. Let's just keep on the track here. So we'll do just the same thing on both sides here. I'm not worried if the geo is exactly the same. This needs to be about the same. And then maybe we'll do the same thing here. I'm okay with adding a little extra geo on the edges because that's probably where some of the sculpt will be. What's up, Fort? How you doing, man? What's wrong? You guys don't get enough character streams? This one will just. Well, I guess we'll do the same. We may delete all this geo on the inside at some point, but for consistency's sake, we'll just do this. Okay, cool. Good. I think you're good. You're good. You're good. Let's just mirror and weld onto the other side, and then we'll divide it once, turn smooth back on, and then. Okay, that holds up a little bit better. Now I have a little bit more to work with in here. Hey Chassis, what's up? Which is okay. We'll do that. On the other side, what you can do too is you can use dynamic subdivision, which I use quite a bit if I just want to kind of get an idea of what the turbo smooth would be. So dynamic subdivision, if you guys aren't in the know, if you go to Geo Dynamic Subdiv, I actually have this mapped to a shortcut too. Mine is Shift D, so I can really quickly move in between what it would look like subdivided a couple of times with smooth on and off. And in this one, it's divided twice. Yeah, two divides. Yeah. Duh. Okay. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. Do we want to keep doing that? Alright, we'll do that one more time for anybody that just showed up. We'll do it for this one. But maybe what we'll do is... Yeah, let's do the same thing here. Alright, so we're going to grab... Let's just grab it from regular. So brush, curve, strap, snap. Okay. Then maybe... Let's see where we want to do it. Maybe we'll do one here and here. Whoa. Easy. Alright, let's move back to that subtool. There we go. We're going to turn on ghosting, and then so when I'm doing this, I'm going to hold down shift and move outside of the subtool, and then it should give me a circle here. Okay. Drawing, holding down shift, moving outside of the subtool, and then boom. That's what it should be. Any advice or tips on someone who wants to make Horizon Zero Dawn character fan art? Yeah. You can go to some of my past videos. I did some Horizon Zero Dawn fan art. Go watch my old videos. Nah, just kidding. Um, yeah, I would say figure out, go find a concept that you want to work on, and then just stay true to that concept. Um, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn specifically, I don't really have any kind of advice for, but why are you? So let's clear the mask. There we go. Start shaping this around a little bit. How long have we been working on this? This guy, this girl. I don't know, maybe 12 hours at this point. Let's see if we can get this shape a little bit better. A little bit more interesting here. Okay, for now, I gotta turn off the ground because the ground is bugging me. Can everybody hear me okay or no? Does it sound low for everybody or just you? Ground. Any advice for workflow pointers for creating torn clothing? Meaning holes in the center of fabric rather than the edges. Um, yeah, there's a couple of ways you could do it. It depends on if you are. It's a combination of what you do with the actual geo. So let's say if I wanted to do something torn down here, I would literally tear a hole in the geo, sculpt the hole in, and then I would probably use some either fiber mesh or some small cylinders to act as very specific torn threads. Right, so like let's say this is your hole right here, right? So I would delete that geo and then create the actual hole, and then I would sculpt little um, ribs kind of around it, and then kind of like out, and then I would take some tube geo and put in some very specific threads to make it look a little bit more frayed. There's a couple of different ways that you would think to do it for when you see it in game. The two big questions are: do you want it to be, um, uh, you know, do you want the geo to have an actual hole, or does that particular geo is it flat enough where you can use an alpha map? So once you have the UVs laid out, I don't know if these guys do. You have UVs? Yes. Check that out. Haha. So in your UV, what you could do is you can paint a black and white map and then just have this part as white, and then you apply that to alpha channel on this material, and then it will alpha out that area. The problem with the alpha is that as soon as you turn it this way, like you don't, it kind of goes away. So it only really works for flat things that you're not really going to see the sides of very much, like this. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. You could do the actual geo cutout, or you can create an alpha map for it. I like that. I actually kind of like that new bump feature. That's pretty cool. So in UV map, you have this bump feature, which you can kind of use to read where you are on your 3D model. It's kind of cool. Yeah, no problem, man. That's why we're here. That's why I do this for you guys. I'm not here for me. I could sculpt till the cows come home by myself. I'm here for you. I'm here for you, man. um, can I work on something realistic without getting 40 million points because my laptop can't handle that much? You can. Um, you can use there's a couple of different things that you can do. Let's say that you want to add details into these guys, right? You could, instead of um, dividing it a bunch of times and sculpting all that detail in and using all of that horsepower to do sculpting, what you could do is you could just let's split unmasked points. Okay, grab this dude. So what's cool here? So I didn't split unmasked points on this front one. I'll get back to that question in a second. Um, what I can do is instead of trying to mask this guy or use um, poly, what is it? Polyframe? I always forget the name of it. Polygroup. I could use polygroup, or what I could do is I could actually go back in history on this particular subtool because I already have this one is already its own subtool now. So what I can do is I can undo this, right, which actually keeps this other subtool, and it goes back in time on this subtool. And then I'll just go back in time until this one was masked, and then do split unmasked points there. Cool. Easy peasy. Where'd it go, though? Oh, that's why. Let's invert the mask. There we go. Split unmasked points. There we go. It made a new body. That's what it did. Okay, we'll delete this. That's fine. Go back here. Yeah, whatever. We'll just try it again. I got my merge wixed. So let's delete this one. This is the pose that we want to use. This is the one that we already have. So then let's just go back and create that one again. Okay, I'm on my curve strap snap. Hold down shift. Boom. Increase my draw size a little bit. Draw, hold down shift. There we go, close enough. Cool. There we go. And then now we'll split unmasked points. Cool, there we go. Now I've got this one. Let's just move that guy up. This one and this one. Okay, well, we're going to merge those two down. Boom, there we go. Boom. Let's just go back in time on this guy. There we go. Alright, cool, got it. Okay, there's those ones. Let's see. Let's try to catch up on some. Oh yeah, can I work on something that's realistic without kind of murdering my PC? So yeah, so what I would do is I would kind of get your base meshes down. Let's say you wanted to go ahead and sculpt some details onto this dude. You could get to this point, instead of subdividing and sculpting on it, what you can do is just create some UVs for it. So we can say UV master unwrap, and let's turn the texture off on these dudes, right? And then we'll do morph UV. I go back to UV map, turn my bump down. Cool. So you can get these guys set up in your UV space, and then you can just do like a Undo or Substance Painter, and then just draw normal details on top of this. The main thing that you would want to do is make sure that your UVs are in the place in your UV layout, your 0 to 1, that you want them to. Because once you start applying information to your UV layout, your square, you don't really want that to move around. So in Undo or Painter, you could go in and sculpt normal details on that, or height details. So that's one way I would get around those limitations. Okay. So I don't need all this geo in here, so I could just delete these guys. I don't really need all that in there, right? You really just need all the way till, say, maybe there. And then these guys are probably somewhere around, let's say here for now. All right, so let's delete hidden. Okay, we'll also do something similar where we'll go into the modeler brush. Ooh, not that one. There you go. Grab the edge. Nope. There we go. So you see I missed a spot down here. So before, let's just hide those guys. We'll do delete hidden again. And then now we'll insert another edge loop. Cool. Add some on the inside. I don't really care too much. Oops. If they're exactly the same. Just around the same is fine. Cool. So now if I do Shift D, which is my shortcut for dynamic, then I can see kind of what that subdivision may look like. Okay, and let's apply our, oops, don't want to do it on that one, I want to do it on this one. There we go. And then we'll do fill object. Here we go to my standard. Typically when I'm doing anything that has to do with changing the brush, um, whether it's adding mRGB or RGB or excuse me, a material, I try to use my standard brush a lot because I don't want to end up changing a bunch of the properties of some of these other brushes, because then things kind of get a little bit weird. So whenever I'm doing like painting or drag select or filling materials or color or something like that, I almost always use my standard brush just to kind of like isolate the possibilities of messing up my other brushes down to the least the least possible mess up. So standard brush, mRGB, and then we'll fill object. And then we'll go back to standard material. Cool, that's got that now. So obviously this is different from this. So we will have to just do it again on the other side after it autosaves. It's my opinion on UE5. Oh man, I had some chills watching the UE5 tech demo. To be able to just throw um, an unoptimized mesh into ZBrush, or I mean from ZBrush into game and actually have it work is definitely a pipe dream. Definitely. So if they can figure out the magic to make that work, I'm all about it. All about it. But the two main things in that demo, the dynamic global illumination was just bonkers, and then being able to have it have the engine kind of cull everything behind what it's seeing, you know, with like it's basically a dynamic occluder. It just takes everything that's on screen and then looks at it in a completely different way, and that is how you change things. It's awesome. Yeah, no problem for it. Is there anything I can get feedback on my portfolio from people in the industry? I'm trying to work my way towards working as a character artist for games, but could use a little guidance. Sure, Mike. Feel free to reach out if you would like. Shoot me an email or find me on Facebook and send it over. I can take a look at it. Okay, so we can do it on this side again real quick. Or what we could do is, because the shape is actually the same, we could just try to, let's do this. Let's duplicate it. Let's mirror and weld. Then maybe what we can do is just move it into place. Sorry, not mirror and weld. I just want to mirror it. There we go. So now, there we go. That's what I want. Could we move this into place? Can we use this? The one thing I wish about this widget, and I guess I could just try to make my own, is that I wish you could grab somewhere in the middle here and do a free rotate. That's what I really wish. Maya has that, and it's really, really helpful. That work? Maybe. Maybe not. This process is usually pretty quick enough to just redo them real quick. So let's just redo them. Let's delete that. So we'll grab that. We'll do that. We're going to grab my brush, curve, strap, snap. Draw, hold down my shift. There we go. Okay. I'm going to Alt tap, and that will get rid of the brush. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And then we'll do split unmask points, because this one is already, that was already masked. Again, split unmask points is in subtool, split unmask points. So if we're in subtool, you can do split unmask points, or you can do split masked points. Okay, so we're on this guy. Gonna hold shift. There we go. Sure, that looks good. Okay, split unmask points. You'll see all of this stuff is just from the tool palette, the stuff that I use all the time, that I just pull out. So that way I don't have to kind of move back and forth through all of these guys. Makes life much easier for me. So then we'll do merge down. Okay, so we've got those two. Let's go down to texture, turn off texture map. Cool. Alright, there we go. Then we can delete some geo. So I'm going to go to my select brush, turn on polyframe, and then we'll say maybe there's good. And then for this one, we'll say maybe keep a little bit extra under there just in case. There. Okay, cool. Let's do delete hidden. Okay, and this guy will go maybe here. So we'll grab those dudes. And on this one, we'll say here's the line, so maybe we'll grab a little bit extra. There we go. And then we'll just grab these guys. Now I haven't deleted them yet. Maybe I want to catch one more here instead. So let's invert it, and then we'll hide these guys, invert it again, and then that guy's back. Okay, that's good. So we'll do delete hidden. Cool. And then we'll hit the modeler brush real quick, add some edge loops. You know, I could have done... No, forget I said that. If you want to move one too, you can just hover over, hit space, and then do slide. Slide edge loop complete, and you can just grab this guy and move him over a little bit. So we'll go back to insert. Cool. Now when I hit dynamic subdivision as Shift D for me, and then let's turn off polyframe and turn that back on. Cool. Hey, look, we got straps. Of course, that's just the base of the straps. So then from there we'll start sculpting and make them look better. Let's turn that texture off. Wait. Haha. So this is on there for some reason. I'm not sure why. So let's hide that guy. And then we'll do delete hidden. Okay, cool. Alright, so then we're going to grab these dudes. We're going to go back to my standard brush, MRGB. We're going to change the material to Matte Cap Gorilla, fill object, and then we'll go back to basic. Okay, cool. What's my workflow for making hair and fur? I've been through enough in the live games, in real-time hair production, that right now the best way to do hair is just with cards. For hair, is cards. Fur, it depends. If you're doing something stylized, you could get away with sculpting hair. But if you're doing something more realistic, you really just want to use cards. So you just for hair or fur, you want to establish first what your target is going to be. You know, are you going to use sculpt or are you going to use cards with alpha? From there, that would determine what your workflow is. So let's say if I was going to create like fur on her shoulders, right? Like a big shoulder fur. I would establish the geo first, right? Do a quick undersculpt of the geo, and then I would create hair cards from there and then place the hair cards by hand. That's really the one of the best ways to do it. Pablo Gomez has some pretty good tutorials on doing fur, so check him out. He's also a streamer on the Pixologic channel here. Pardon me. He's got a couple great ones on hair and fur for some quick stuff as well. Those guys who ask you for feedback, friends of yours? If not, that's very kind of you. Yeah, for me, I've, in my come upness, I've reached out to people, um, in the industry for feedback and advice and that kind of stuff, and people have been kind enough to do that for me. So there's no reason why I shouldn't be, reciprocal on that. And honestly, it's kind of a pay it forward moment. So any way that I can help people get through the struggles that I got through, and that I can provide guidance to, I'm more than happy to help if I have the time. The only reason usually when I say that I can't is if I'm just too crazy busy, which happens quite a bit. Okay, so let's I think we can start throwing in some details on this dude. So let's do that. These guys are just playing around with some other things there. Rigging all this would be a nightmare. Like if I had something here that these moved with, every time she moved her arm, man, that would be a freaking nightmare. So I think I'm gonna get rid of these guys. So there's this one and this one. So let's just combine them really quick. So we'll do merge down, and let's just turn these guys off for now. There we go. Okay, and we'll just kind of. Uh-oh. Something weird's happening. So sometimes you can get your subtool like frozen, and you see the subtool is now duplicated in the background back there. Um, One of the ways that you can get around that, you just hold Control N, as in Nancy, and that will just give you a new document. The other thing that you can do is you can always just say document, new document. You're like, do you want to? No, that's fine. So you get a new document. Oh my God, where did it go? It's okay. Because it's all in your same tool that you're in, right? So you can just drop it in again. Hit T, and you're right back to where you need to be. So let's save. I haven't saved this in a while, so you'll notice the name of this particular character was a little bit different. So originally I was going to make her kind of a demon zombie lady, woman, um, but yeah, it's changed a little bit. So I typically see crashes when I'm moving things with the move brush. So let's just do the move tool. There we go. I think we're okay. Cool. Recently finished a project and I followed a lot of your advice with your lives. I learned a lot from you. Oh, thanks. Awesome, Render. I think God of War. Nice. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. All right, Michael. I'll take a look when I can, man. Yeah, look, I did it again. All right. Control N. Just do new. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It's a little bit weird. Very strange. Very strange. I think you still need hair cards on the release of UE5, or can we use XGen hair fibers? Uh, Currently, as it sits right now, XGen is amazing. You can get away with it for film, uh, but for large AAA games, we're still using cards. So what I would do is I would use XGen to create my card textures, right? So I can make a little plane, generate some curves, get the chunk of hair that I like, and then bake that down to my diffuse, my normal, my AO, and all of that, right? And then I would take those, put them into my UV sheet, and then for my hair cards, I would just move those onto that location on the 0 to 1 space in the UV, right? Does that make sense? Okay, let's go back to. You guys can still hear me, right? Just taking my wire out here. Do I believe that the new release for Unreal 5 workflow for hair will change? Get extend straight to engine, or will? Yeah, we're really close. We're really close to being able to use. Here's the thing: is that using hair splines is way more expensive for the engine than it is just rendering polygon cards with an alpha. So um, we're pretty close to being able to use splines. In some cases, you can. Really depends on your project and your rigging system. Um, but it's not quite there. I think with the next gen of consoles and UE5 that we'll be able to do it. But it still has to get proven out. Oh god, come on. Grab this guy. Can we grab that guy? Thank you. I'm just gonna kind of grab this. I may redo these chains at some point, but right now I just want to get them at least close. Let's clear mask. Bring these guys out. I'm just doing when I'm using the move tool on something that needs to keep their minor shapes intact. I typically will just use quick little movements. So instead of doing this, one large movement, you tend to get a lot more stretching. But if you use kind of micro movements, you can avoid that to a point. Yes, you're right, provider. It needs lots of testing and proving um, before we'll see it in mainstream. But it's close. All of the new things that come out, like we always need somebody to take a chance and actually do it and see if it works. Okay. All right. So before I sculpt on these dudes, I usually duplicate it real quick. If I hold down Shift and hit move down, it'll actually move it all the way down to the bottom. Okay. That's cool. All right. So this guy has layers. Why does he have layers? I don't really need layers at this point. Not worried about UVs or anything. How much RAM do I have on my PC? I think I have 32 gigs. Or 48, I'm not sure. 32 or 48. Do I have layers on this, dude? I don't have layers. Okay, cool. Oh, nice. I'm glad, C-Chan. Yeah. Give us the follow. Yeah, we'll just start doing some details in here now. I'll have a little bit of fun now that our technical stuff is out of the way for the moment. All right, so while I'm kind of blocking out just some basic stuff, I really want to think about what I want this piece to do. So what is this piece? I think this is a leather piece, right? Some kind of malleable surface. This is not hard surface. So what I would do probably is, we could do some straps. Let's do some straps over these two, and then we'll do like little the same type, same type of feel. This kind of establishes some of the details. Let's do stop that. Thank you. So we'll do some of this type of work, right? So we've got kind of like this scrolly stuff. And so like maybe we'll just do some of this. All right? How does that feel if we do some of that scrolly work? And then we can do it around the little straps. So let's do that. Ah, thanks, William. Appreciate it, man. Renders of which one are you talking about, William? Okay. So while you are waiting for that, let's. Am I talking too low? Yeah. I'll just have to talk louder. All right. So let's go back to curve strap snap. We'll use the same thing on these guys. Oh, the little one's up. Good morning. Hi, buddy. You want to come say hi? Oh, hi. How's it going? Hi. You got Elmo and Oscar? What is that? Oh, yeah, that's a pen. Ooh. Who are you gonna drop? Who are you gonna drop for it? Oh, the decision. Oh, okay. Here, Dad. You hold that, and then I'll hold that. Oh, just don't poke me in the face. Ah, like that. What are you doing? Here, you wanna draw on there? Here, draw on there. There you go. Ooh, look, you're sculpting. You're sculpting. This is why undo is so important. You got this. No pressure. No pressure. Look, you're sculpting already. And also, here, I'll trade you back. Here you go. Okay, you take that. You take that. Nice. Did you have a good sleep? Yeah? You have good sleepies? You say hi to everybody? Say hello. Hello. Yeah? Alright. You gonna go make some breakfast with mommy? Yeah? Okay, say bye bye. Bye bye. Dad, who are you waving to? You're talking to your computer. There's people out there. I'll teach you more about that later. All right. All right. Bye bye. Next gen. Yep. Next gen. All right. So this guy doesn't have layers. I think I can do curve strap snap. I did let them out already. Let me open up this window real quick. It's getting hot. It's all hot. Okay. Now you can't see me, but at least I'm not gonna die of heat. So we'll grab curve strap snap, and let's just see what this does here. Subdivision levels, right. I could use the freeze function, but it kind of gets a little bit weird. So instead, I'll just do it by hand, and we'll delete lower. All right. So now, because I didn't use the ghost, it will take into account, or at least try to. All right. So maybe we got this one. So maybe it'll do like, maybe it'll kind of like come out, over, and then back in, and then continue down with this one. Right? That might be kind of cool. So I could just scoot this guy over, or I could just redo him, which is probably easier. And I can nudge this dude over as long as it's within the realm of it's fine. How do you make your characters look realistic? More details. That's the first. that's the first trick, is lots of details. Secondly is yeah, lots of details. Just start there. I think that's okay for now. I think what I'll do is I'll grab these guys and I'll just turn this so that it's in continuity with this. So let's just do that. We'll do split unmask points. Go back here, and then we'll do I think of instead of actually drawing over this piece, I think what I'm going to do is just draw it flat on there and then just move it by hand. Might be easier. Cool. That's fine. We'll do split unmask points. And then I'm just going to draw this one again flat. Cool. Give some tips on creating mouth bag on a face with closed lips. Honestly, the best way to do mouth bag is to create it in your low res first. Create your low res head mesh, and then create it by hand. um, you could just grab a sphere and zero mesh it all the way down until it's pretty low geo, and then maybe take that into like a Maya or Moto or something, and then physically stitch it to the inside of the lips, and then redo your UVs. It's a pain in the butt, man. Honestly, what I would do is I would grab a base mesh that already has it, and don't even worry about it. Um, it's good to know how to do it, but it's not a requirement these days. Most studios already have base meshes set up, so you don't. It's not usually something that you have to worry about. So I would just grab a base mesh that already has one. So that one looks good. So we'll do split unmasked. I'm just gonna make a couple here. Um, 'Cause I think it may be easier to just make one like this, and then while the curve is still on, use that to kind of get a little bit. That way it keeps the consistency of this height without having to kind of futz with it too much. That's probably good enough. All right, so Alt click to finish the curve, split unmask points. So I've got a bunch of these guys now. So then we'll use this one and this one, and then these guys will delete. So we'll delete that guy, and we'll delete that guy. Cool. Now I just got those two. That's cool. How many years have you been in the industry? Did you go to art school? Do you think it matters? If it matters. Um, it's a very complicated question, and it's kind of a complicated answer. Um, I did go to art school, um, but I spent a lot of money to do it. Was it worth it for me? Yes and no. I think that the if I was to do it again, I could do the education without having to pay, but I wouldn't know what to study. I also uh, wouldn't have as much guidance or time set aside to do the studies that I need to. So if you're the type of person that is a good self motivator and consistently over a long period of time, then yeah, you at this point you may not need to do some kind of formal college for this. Um, the downside is that uh, when you're doing it on your own, it's very wild west out there right now. Or yeah, it's very wild westy. So if you don't have a structured environment, like it's really easy to just say, oh, I'll just do this one thing. Oh, this tutorial looks cool. I'll just do that. You know, and that's your answer. Yeah, but it may not be like the actual things that you need to study, right? It's just like, oh, I know how to make a cool crate. Awesome. How often do you really make crates? So it's hard to say these days whether a structured art school is good for you or not. It really depends on you. I went. I spent a lot of money doing it, and um, but I got a lot of good things out of it. I got a good traditional education, um, and have a good traditional background, and I learned a lot of things that I didn't necessarily know that I would need um, in art and in just in life. So it's hard to say. That one's really hard to say. I can tell you that um, when studios are hiring, they don't look to see if you have a formal education. It's just all about your portfolio. So, however you can get to a super badass portfolio, that's on you. You know, whatever's the best route for you. If you're somebody who needs more of a structured plan to be able to do that, then maybe that's best for you. But if you're somebody who, you know, is good at doing your own thing and paving your own direction, then you may not need it. Hard to say. All right, so now I have this visual consistency of this line kind of going through here. What I can do is pull this guy up a little bit. We'll grab this dude, we'll pull him up. So some of the things that I'm always considering for when something is convincing or not is the interactions in between different um, entities, right? So you want things to react to each other, right? You don't want things to just clip in. Like these little details, even though you don't see it, your eye sees it if it's weird, right? So it's just like having just that little bump is like, oh, okay, cool. It's something that should be there, and when it's not there, it looks, more faker or fakery. I need coffee. So you see, it adds this nice like connection between two different pieces that would normally be there. So it helps kind of sell the illusion of reality. So let's take this guy. We'll just move him up a little bit. I'm doing it on the wrong. Doing it on the wrong subtool. Let's do it on this one. There we go. So it's nice. I can just go down in subdivisions. I was like, why don't I have subdivisions? Oh yeah, I'm on the wrong one. So that's the nice thing about subdivisions is that you can just go down in your subds and you can work on the overall shape. And then you can go back up in your subds. So I'm just pushing and pulling a little bit here and there. I use Alt a lot when I'm using the Move brush, which basically it takes however whatever the size of your brush, an average of the normals within there, and then it will, if you hold down Alt and then click and move to the right, it will um, pull perpendicular to the average of the normals that you have within your brush stroke. Does that make sense? Same thing the other way. If you um, Alt click and drag to the left, it will push in based on the average of your normals within your brushstroke. It's really great because there's a lot of times when you're kind of like, you know, you're like this, and you don't want to move it left or right. You just want to push it out, but you need to see it from this side. So I use that quite a bit. Let's Alt click. So then I'm just click and drag to the right here to kind of pull this up, and then click and drag to the left to push this in. So you're starting to sell the illusion that there's something, that this continues underneath here, right? What do you do if you're halfway down and you realize you're on the wrong subtool? Halfway done, you mean? Um, there's some things that you can do. Let's say that I did all that work on this particular one. It's easy. You can just use project. So let's say project also will respect your mask. So you could say, oh, I'm just going to grab this portion, maybe say here like this, then invert that, and then we could do just a quick project. So project all. There you go. So that little portion. So you can use a combination of project if you're on the wrong subtool. You just got to be a little bit careful with project. Or you can just subscribe to the fact that if you can do it once, you can do it better the second time. I do that quite a bit. I just, you know, all right, well, just got to do it again. But now I know from all the stuff that I did the first time, so I can just do it better the second time. So let's push this stuff in. I think this is close enough. So then what I can do is I'm going to grab these dudes. Let's switch to this dude. Turn that on. I'm going to get rid of the caps because both of these, well, this cap. Is this going to be on the outside or is it going to duck back under? Let's keep it on the outside because I think it would be cool to like have like a little like a stud here and then some more details around it, and then we can kind of pull some stretch details this way. And then you have like this nice like, okay, I exist on the outside, I go under, I live under, I exist on the outside, I live under again. So it's kind of got this nice kind of interweave happen. Whereas if this goes back underneath, it's kind of like, it's a missed opportunity for more detail. So we'll leave this out, and then this will go in. So then what we'll do is we'll take this and just, we're going to duck that about to the surface because I'm going to sculpt a little bit on top of it. Okay, grab this dude, take it about down to the surface. And again, I'm going to subdivide all, this, so I'm not too worried about it actually not going over. It's all about the tips, man. Tips and tricks. It's all about the tips and tricks, as my buddy used to say. Okay, let's hide that. Let's hide that. Invert. Hide that. Hide that. Actually, you know what? I do need this side, so let's hide that. So I just want this guy. So invert. Delete hidden. Just doing a little bit of shopkeeping here. Okay, delete hidden. All right, so let's add a couple edge loops in here. So we'll go to our Z modeler brush, and then we'll just do insert, insert, insert. And because this one, actually, here we go. What the? What the? What the? What do we do? Oh my god. It's easy. So we should just be able to delete. So let's go to edge. So we're on edge actions. We do delete. We'll just do single edge here. Can we do that? Yes, we can. All right, so how do you delete that? Right, we got a point here. It gets a little bit weird when you try to manage minute things like this in the topology. So typically what I would do is just get out of the car, get back in the car, right? So think about it in a different way. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just, oops, maybe I'll just delete that. So let's delete this. So we'll delete hidden. And then what I'll do is I'll just do this close holes. Close holes is in geometry, close holes. So if I go to geo, modify topology, close holes. So what that does is it gives me a triangulated surface um, based on the topology. Now it does the same thing on this one, but what it's doing is it's not giving me that center point, right? That was in there before. So if I go back to my ZModeler brush now, and I go back to delete edge, I should be able to delete that edge like that. And then we can delete that edge, and then we'll just delete that side. You could just go to polygon actions, and then we could go delete a single poly. You could just delete that guy that way. A couple different ways to do it. Cool. And then we'll go back to insert single edge loop. Now we got something clean that will wrap around both sides. Easy peasy, right? Get that in a tutorial. It's all about them tips and tricks, baby. Yeah, tips and tricks. Okay, so we'll do the same thing, right? So let's hide that, invert it, hide that, isolate that guy, invert, delete edge, and then we'll close holes, delete edge, oops, delete edge, thank you, delete edge, cool. We'll hide this guy, invert, hide that, invert, delete, cool. And then we can go back into insert, single edge loop, and then we'll just add our loops. Loop, loop, loop-a-doop, loop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. Any coffee? You can find my ArtStation. Just copy and paste my name, and just do a quick search for it. You guys can also follow my personal channel here on Twitch if you'd like. It's on the bottom of the screen, twitch.tv/Brendon Isaiah Bengtson. Copy and paste is your friend. Here's what I'll do. Cool. You should be able to. Oh no, that's Pixologic. Never mind. Yeah. There's no moderators here right now. Peps, just me. It's just me, man. All right, so let's do Shift D on that guy. All right, so that's what it's going to look like when it's subdivided, which is fine. We'll grab this one, Shift D. Hold on a second. There you go. There's my ArtStation. Thank you very much. Do I use Substance Painter to get those nice textures on your sculpt? Yes, 100%. 100%, yes. Most definitely. All right, so let's add a subdivision here, and then let's just sculpt in kind of what I want this interaction to look like. At least just kind of block it out. I actually do my baking in Marmoset Toolbag. Marmoset Baker is awesome. Okay, so now we kind of got this continuity line. All right, so let's make sure that they are the same material at least. So we're going to go to Gorilla. There we go. Set that back. Hey, 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 hey. Whoa, buddy. Easy. That's because I didn't have mRGB on. Or I could just do M, because it's still white. Maybe we'll just do M here. Let's just do MRGB. All right, so now we do fill object. And again, fill object is in color, fill object. So if you go to color, this is here, fill object. And then colorize is in polypaint colorize. So that's where I'm getting these guys. So polypaint down here, colorize. That's this button here. Yeah. Fill object. Okay, and then we'll go back to basic material. Okay, cool. Grab this one. Fill object. Nope. Go back to that. Fill object. Back to that. There we go. So I have this like nice consistency, and I got a really cool silhouette breakup there, which is that's very nice. Yes, it's very nice. Very very nice. Subsy Studio. What else we got? Cool, 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 cool. And then maybe what I could do is let's throw in a little thingamajig here. How is Marmoset in comparison to Substance Painter for toit, toit, very toit. Is that what that is? Hmm? Donuts? Toit, toit. How is it compared the baker in Substance Painter versus Marmoset Toolbag? The biggest thing for me is the baking groups in Marmoset Toolbag, where you can, let's say you're gonna bake this and this and this, right? So if you're baking this down to itself, what's gonna happen is its cage will intersect with this piece, right? But I don't want these normal details and stuff on this part of the map. So you can still have this as the same group. So when you export as a OBJ, you export this one, and this one. But what you can do is you can, sorry, not when you export. Uh, they can be in the same location, right? You don't have to explode them, right? So you don't have to like move this off and then so that its cage doesn't intersect this one. Does that make sense? So what you can do is you can export this as an OBJ, this is an OBJ, and this is an OBJ. And then what you can do is you can put it into a group in Marmoset Toolbag, and the group will only recognize what's in the group. So if this is in a separate group than this, but still in the same location as it is right now in 3D space, this group will ignore this group in the bake. That's what you want. And then you can have them all bake to the same texture as well. So typically what you would have to do if you did it in Painter, you would have to export this as a high res, bake that, then you have a full spreadsheet of texture maps. Then you would have to cut and paste all of that into one masterpiece, one master normal map. Whereas in this, if you use Substance or Toolbag, you can have all three of these in the same space, set them as different groups. When you bake them, this will ignore this, and it will ignore this if you have different groups. But it will automatically bake it to the same map. So it's a little bit, it's like, it's a twofer. And that's why I love baking in Toolbag, because it gives you the options to utilize groups. That was a long-winded answer. Now it's time for water. Anyway, I hope all this technical information helps you. Um, I think it's a little bit more of the reason why I do live streams is to kind of answer questions and talk about pipeline, uh, and not necessarily do focus on the actual sculpt. It's more about kind of providing information and talking about things that I'm working on at the moment or things in general. I think that's where a lot of people get a lot of good information from. So that's typically what I try to do in my streams here. So I'm going to look for some kind of insert tool that will work well for a little fastener for this. So maybe we'll do the model toolkit by in Just We Trust. Ooh, that's weird. Why is that doing that? A little trick is if you hit M, as in Mary, it will actually pull up all of the pieces that are in this brush. So I'm thinking maybe something like this would be good. Something simple, not too complicated. So then I can just nope, grab that guy. Thank you. Ugh, that's the guy. Okay, cool. So maybe what I'll do is just right, something like that. Toy, very toy. But I want to keep it. So how do I keep the size consistent between what I draw here and what I draw there? It's actually pretty easy to do. Here's what you do. You set your brush size to what you want. So let's say maybe I want it there. So when I click and drag, I just hold Control, and that will snap it to the brush size. So as long as you don't change your brush size between where you put it here and where you put it on the other one, it should be the exact same size. What? Let's see, does that read? I think that's big enough to read. I don't want to make it too small where you can't really see it, but I want to make it big enough. So I think that's okay. Whoa, easy, buddy. All right, so then click and drag, hold Alt or Control, excuse me, and then there you go. Um, as for layers, I would just be wary of them. It adds a whole nother level of complication. Um, so typically what I tell people is try to get the gist of ZBrush in general first, and then introduce layers. If you're trying to learn ZBrush and layers at the same time, it becomes really complicated really quickly. Really quickly. Um, I usually don't use layers until uh, I'm at a kind of later high res state. Okay, so let's do this. So we'll grab this dude. No, I'm not on a layer at the moment. Okay, so I want to split these guys off. So you can take a look at my polygroups, right? So it's a different polygroup. If it's not say different polygroup, you can do auto groups, which is under polygroups, auto groups, boom, 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 right there, and that will give a polygroup to separate meshes. Same subtool, separate meshes. Subdim. So then I can just Control Shift click, invert, split hidden. Cool. Grab this dude, split hidden. And then we can clear that mask. So this guy will go back to and do Cat Gorilla, fill object. Okay, cool. There we go. And then these guys, we're actually going to use this gold color. So we'll do fill object, grab this guy, fill object. Okay, that's what I want. And then we can do Shift D again. That's my shortcut for the dynamic subdivision. Geo, dynamic subdivision. Shift D, you can see there. Shift D. All right, let's go back to basic material here. That's what it looks like. That's kind of cool. I like another level of detail in there, right? I like that. Right, and it's functional, and it's a continuity thing, right? Thanks, man. It's Irish biblical Viking. That's what I am. And it's pretty cool too. I like how this kind of they're not exactly parallel, which is which is good. And I've got the same things on this side, it looks like. I just need to move this guy. So let's save first again. Look how big these files are. What? That's insane. Good God, man. Oh my God. Typically, when you're doing like a lot of realistic stuff, um, and you have a lot of subtools with millions of polys, you're going to get up into that range. You can see right here I have 45 million polys, um, 70 subtools. So yeah, there's a couple in there. Um, if you didn't know as well, is when you add a layer, it duplicates um, it duplicates how many polys you have for that subtool. Does that make sense? So if my subtool is already at 5 million, if I add one layer, that subtool is now 10 million. If I add another, now it's 15 million, and so on and so forth. So if you have like, no, I just literally just saved it. Stop it. So if I have like 15 layers on a 5 million subtool, it gets out of hand pretty quick. So just be conscious of that. Is that every single layer duplicates the amount of geo that the base layer is on, or the base subtool. All right, so let's grab this dude. We're gonna go. So in most of the time, I use this move topological. Excuse me. What's great about that is if things are on the same subtool and they're different geo, you can just click and move things. But so let's say this guy, for instance. If I just want to move one, I can move him. So if I just click on him, he just moves like that. That's what move topological does. But the question is, like, if I want to move the whole thing, and you're on move topological, you don't want to move all this stuff one by one, so you just use the regular move tool. And you just kind of scootzen, scootzen. Miss Scootzen. Thanks, D. Appreciate it. I aim to entertain. Education and entertainment. That's my game. Not rhyming. Definitely not rhyming. Anyways, you gotta have fun while you're working, right? So again, when I'm moving something like this, where it need to the general shape needs to stay consistent with these little guys. So instead of like moving it like this, where it stretches all of that, I tend to just try to do little micro movements, and it helps keep the general consistency of the shapes together better. How do you do the skin texture? Well, I'm all about transparency. So part of that transparency is me admitting that I started from body scan. because this is not an anatomy practice session. This is character concept. So the faster you can get to what you actually want to practice, the better. So in this particular case, this body and head mesh are from 3D Scan Store. They have some really awesome base models with some good base textures. Um, and they have 50% off sales all the time. 3D Scan Store. 3D Scan Store. I think they're running 50% off pretty much everything right now. I don't know. Whenever you're watching this, this may be taped and not live, so check it out. But yeah, so to get to character concepting faster, just use body scan. So I grabbed it, um, moved it into position, and that's where you go. I did some tweaks to it, but it kind of gets you to the point where you need to be to work on the things that you need to work on. Most often in studio work, at least in AAA, you usually have base bodies already planned out. So it's a typical workflow to just grab a base body and start working off of that. 3D Scan Store. And then for the black paint on this, basically what I did was I just exported the body once it was positioned into Substance Painter, imported the base texture that came along with the body into Substance Painter, added another layer, painted on top of it, and then just rebaked the albedo out, and then brought the albedo back in here. And that's how I got this texture. Super quick, super easy, and super temp. It's very temporary. Okay. All right, so now let's get into a little bit more of this integration, right? So like we want to make sure that we can see. So I'm just pushing in here, pulling up here. Maybe we'll flatten that out a little bit. So at least we can see some general shape in there. Smooth that guy out. All right, so we smooth, bump. That looks good. It's good enough. Kind of gets the idea. And so it's for realism. It's all about you know interaction between things. Um, so here, like this interact, there's like literally no interaction here, right? So how do you make that look more realistic? Well, think about the forces that are in play, right? So you've got this guy, he's kind of really just hovering on top, but you shouldn't really be hovering. You really should be kind of pushed in a little bit more, right? Because if there's a tension that this is holding to this guy would be in a little bit more like this, right? And then this this guy, what I'm going to do is instead of the dynamic subdivision on him, I'm actually going to do some real subdivisions because I want to be able to sculpt on them. So let's turn off smooth. We'll do one subdivision, turn back smooth back on, and then do a couple more subdivisions. And what that's going to do is it's going to retain some of those edges a little bit better than to just do the smooth for all 4 subdivisions. Cool. So now I have some things in here. All right. So turn on ghosting so that I can still see where this guy is, and then we'll just go in and put in some depression in here. Oh my god, I'm so depressed. Right, so pull that down maybe. Pull this guy up a little bit. Right, at least we can get um, some general shape suggesting that there is a physical interaction there, right? But what I really want to do is I want to show that this whole thing is being compressed as well. I'm going to take this whole guy, pull him down a little bit, and maybe what we'll do is we'll take these corners and pull them up like this to show that the most amount of tension is in the middle, right, and not out here. So it's these little details that really kind of sell the realism, right? So now look at that. It's already feeling a little bit better, right? So the other half of this equation is there's something happening to this, right? The forces that are happening in here. So maybe what we'll do is we'll put like a little buckle in here, right? A little bit of a shape change happening there. And then maybe what we'll do is we'll put some tension in there, something. Just to kind of suggest that it's pulling. Something super simple. You don't have to be all crazy about it. All right, so now you're starting to see like, oh, they're actually like interacting with each other. When you start doing this stuff though, you have to really think about like, okay, well, what is this material? Is this leather? Is it hard surface? Is it um, is it like a pad with like a thin layer of leather on top of it, or some thin layer of material on top of? That all dictates what happens to the shapes, right? So you want to establish what it is first. I don't know what it is at this point. It by the looks of how this shape is still rigid, I would think that this whole piece is fairly rigid. But at the moment, that's not what this is saying. This is saying something different, right? And this is saying something different. So you want to make sure that you think about what the material is, and then you unify how that material or that shape or that thing interacts with other things around it. So maybe I want to maybe smooth this out a little bit and not have such high frequency detail there. All right, so how do I sell this thing as a little bit more rigid, because I don't want to I want oh, I do want to keep this shape. So how does this piece live like this but also have holes in it and be reactive to other things, right? So if this was super rigid, we wouldn't get this, right? So what I'm thinking is that it's more like, I don't know. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what it is yet. We'll see. See what it feels like. Maybe we'll just do some real slight changes there. Hey Ashen, what's up, man? How you doing, buddy? All the best artists actually have a bunch of tricks to boost and cut corners in production. Do you have any novice tricks for a novice like me? It's really hard to say um, without context. I would say hang out in one of these streams for a while and you'll get a bunch. You'll get a bunch. So let's hit D. Okay. This one has all of my edge loops set up already, so we're going to turn off smooth. We'll do one subdivision, turn smooth back on, and then we'll do another couple there. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing to this guy. So, um, so we'll do that. We'll just sculpt this down a little bit, sculpt this up a little bit in here. We're going to take, oops, nope, that one. We're going to take this whole guy, bring him down in a little bit, like we did the other one. We'll take corners up just a little bit, like that, to kind of sell this impression. And then what we'll do is we'll grab this guy and we'll push that down in a little bit more. Yeah, the chains are all just from a curve brush. Cool, got some interaction there. And then we'll add a little bit of interaction here. Okay, maybe we'll kind of continue this way. Maybe this kind of comes that way like that. Okay, there we go. We're starting to look cool. Let's add a little bit more in here. So kind of refine this shape a little bit here. So it could be, you know, that this is pinching in up here. Maybe this guy's coming down like that. Again, it's all these kind of interactions that the different elements are having together that really helps sell the realism. Okay, and then maybe what we'll do is we'll just do kind of a little lip here. It's amazing how much realism that you can get with some just secondary shapes. Very subtle ones, you know? Maybe we'll push this in a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, if you you'd have to do a lot of work to get this one printed. Just because all these little guys, yeah, it'd be really tough unless you printed it really large. What's up, Brad? All right, so now we can look at, what does this one feel more natural than this one does? And I would hearken to say yes, so that we should keep going on these interactions. Again, I'm using the ghosting here so that I can grab what's underneath this guy, because if if I try to grab what's underneath him, it kind of has a hard time sometimes. So I usually just use ghosting so that it doesn't try to grab or recognize that there's another mesh there. Okay. Ooh, wrong brush. Okay, just add some variation in here. Maybe we'll grab maybe we'll smooth this down a little bit. It's a little too rigid right in there. So maybe we'll just smooth that out a little bit. Cool. That feels a lot better. Alright, so you start getting kind of those interactions happening. And that, my friends, is all we've got for today. But I think it looks pretty cool. Let's grab this dude. Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah, I'll just leave it for now. Whatevs. So yeah, had some fun today. Went over some cool tips and tricks. Again, if you'd like to go back and watch some of the beginning um, of this project, I went through the full gamut and all the chains and everything like that. ZBrushLive.com. You can go back, go to ZBrushLive.com, find my artist page there, and go back and find any of my recent stuff. Actually, it has all of my streams since the very beginning there. Or you can go to the Pixologic YouTube channel. There's lots of great stuff there. Um, yeah, and if you're not following the Pixologic Twitch channel here, give them a follow because there's lots of other amazing phantasmical artists that stream on here too. So give the Pixologic channel a follow here. And if you would like to follow my personal streaming channel, I don't really stream a whole lot right now, but I when I do stream, I usually do like Substance Painter and baking and all that fun stuff. So if you'd like to give me a follow, it's just twitch.tv/Brendon Isaiah Bengtson. And yeah, I think that's about it. Hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys learned a couple things. And most of all, I hope you were inspired to go make your own stuff. So get out there and you make some cool stuff. Do it. So Uncle Brendon told you to. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I will catch you on the next stream. And we'll kind of pick up from here. All right. See you guys. Have a great weekend.